Hey, how's it going, fight fans? Welcome to mindforcombat. If you're new to the channel, my name's Rohan, and it's my platform where I do MMA and boxing related content. If you're new to the platform, why don't you help me grow my platform? All you have to do is subscribe to the channel, like the video if you like it, and maybe hit that bell icon so you get notified whenever I upload a video. With that said, this is a fight that I'm very looking forward to breaking down because it's a very key and interesting fight. Now, whilst Yoel Romero comes into this fight on the back of 2 losses, that doesn't really paint the picture or tell the story of just who Yoel Romero is. So let's take a look at those 2 losses. Firstly, one of those 2 losses is his second fight to Robert Whittaker. And now, for my money, that was what I would consider a robbery. I felt like Yoel Romero definitely won that fight. He won rounds 3, 4, and 5, maybe round 5 or 4. One of the 2 rounds could have even been a 10-8 round, and he should have gotten that win. Now, bear in mind, the belt wasn't on the line that night anyways because he had missed weight. So there is that to take into consideration. He wouldn't have won the belt from that, and he has missed weight twice. But he could have won that fight. The fight with Paulo Costa was also another close one. It's one that across the board was surrounded by controversy with people disagreeing with the decision. Now, I don't necessarily disagree with that decision, but it was a very, very close fight, and it could have gone in the case of Yoel Romero. So whilst he's on the back of 2 losses, it makes sense. Also, you have to take into the fact that Israel Adesanya, the new world champion at middleweight, he's a guy that likes to stay active. Now, his top contender, Paulo Costa, had a bicep tear, and he was meant to be out of action up until summer, July, August times. And Israel Adesanya is not the type of guy who would have wanted to sit around. As it turns out, Paulo Costa turned around and said, "Actually, no, I could have been available by April." Dana White said, "Oh, hold your horses. That's not the case. You wouldn't have been ready." So now we're coming into this fight, and actually, it's quite an interesting fight. Yoel Romero is 42 years old, though, and he's coming on for 43. At some point, this boogeyman of the middleweight division will start to slow down. He is a human just like anyone else, and though he may not look it, he may have some freak genetics, eventually it will catch up with him. It's a very interesting fight. For Adesanya, he wants to prove to the world that he can take out the highest caliber of wrestler as well, and that's been one of the criticisms or the questions that have been surrounding him in his career, and I'm very interested. With that said, let's get into the table of the tape and let's have a look at some of the figures. First off, jumping straight off the bat, Yoel Romero is 42 years old. That makes him 12 years older than Israel Adesanya, who is absolutely slap bang in the middle of his prime at 30 years old. So that 12-year age gap is going to be very interesting to watch. At some point, Yoel Romero will start to slow down. Actually, Yoel Romero is closer to 43 than he is 42. So at this point, you've got to question when Yoel is going to be starting to slow down. Israel Adesanya comes into this fight with a professional undefeated mixed martial arts record of 18 wins and no losses. That is an incredible record. Also, when you take into the fact that he's had over 70 professional kickboxing fights, he's a very experienced young man. He takes on Yoel Romero, who has a professional mixed martial arts record of 13 wins and 4 losses. He's had 17 professional mixed martial arts fights. He started later on in the game, but actually he's got an Olympic silver medalist in wrestling, and he's a decorated wrestler, has traveled all around the world. So he's been competitively competing for a long, long time. Israel Adesanya stands at 6'4", which makes him 5 inches taller than Yoel Romero, who stands at 5'10", and he's most certainly going to want to utilize that distance. Where he also enjoys some distance is in the reach. He has an 80-inch reach as opposed to Yoel Romero's 73.5-inch reach. That gives him 6.5 inches of reach advantage. Considering Israel Adesanya's style and the way he's going to want to fight and the length that he's going to fight at, that's most certainly going to work in his favour, and Yoel Romero's going to have to negate that if he's going to be able to. Well, that's going to be something that we're going to question a bit further on in this video. When we're talking about this, dolls, well, you got to describe Israel Adesanya as a precision striker. He likes to pick his shots. He likes to use his range. It's kind of like that pat, pat, pat touching you, and then before you know, he's landing the big shots, and he's using his precision and his, the shot selection to put you out, as opposed to the kablam that Yoel Romero uses, the explosion that Yoel Romero uses to get the finish. That's going to be a big difference in this fight. Yoel Romero, of course, he's a decorated wrestler. Like I said, he's an Olympic silver medalist, but actually for Yoel Romero's style, he does have a lot of stand-up in his fight. So he likes to fight a lot in the stand-up game, and he likes to lull you into that false sense of security where he's slow, he's kind of mesmerizing you because he ain't really doing nothing, and then next thing you know, he's exploding, and that's how he fights, and that's where he shines. It's the unpredictability of Yoel Romero. He has got that wrestling in his back pocket as well if he needs to, which is very, very interesting. Let's look at some of their key wins. For Israel Adesanya, his key wins are really most certainly his most recent 2 wins. Now, of course, he's beaten the likes of Brad Tavares and Derek Brunson in his come-up, but his wins over Robert Whittaker and Kelvin Gastelum are the ones that stand out for me. The Kelvin Gastelum one in particular, because Kelvin Gastelum is in a lot of ways similar to Yoel Romero. If not as dangerous, he is still similar. For Yoel Romero, he's got a lot of great wins. So in his come-up, he of course also beat the likes of Brad Tavares and Derek Brunson. But then you throw into that the likes of Lyoto Machida, who's one of the all-time greats who he beat. He beat Tim Kennedy in that controversial night. He's beaten Jacare Souza. He got a controversial decision over him. And then, of course, he knocked out Luke Rockhold as well, and that's a very, very big feather in his cap. Very interesting, and he could potentially have a win over Robert Whittaker as well if the right call was made in that night, in my opinion. The issues in this fight, coming into this fight for Israel Adesanya, is going to be firstly, his wrestling. Is that a hold that Yoel Romero is going to be able to expose and exploit? And secondly, he is hittable. If Kelvin Gastelum can land them shots, how will he deal with the shots being landed by Yoel Romero, who most certainly hits a lot harder than Kelvin Gastelum? And that's very, very interesting to think about. For Yoel Romero, the biggest issue for me jumps straight off the bat, and that's going to be his age. Is he starting to slow down? And also, most certainly, another thing that we need to consider is the fact that he is a bit slow off the bat. So if he is slow, then Israel Adesanya is going to be touching him up early. How is that going to impact his game? As we go into the X factor for Israel Adesanya, it's going to be his youth, his freshness, and his stand-up, the skills that he enjoys on the feet. And for Yoel Romero, the X factor will certainly be his wrestling and his power, his explosiveness that he can exploit. With that said, let's get into my prediction. So this is an interesting fight, and a fight that I think can play out in one of a few ways. Yoel Romero, whilst he has got great wrestling, hasn't been the type to exploit his wrestling throughout his career. Actually, he's relied more so on his stand-up, and his best wins have come in the stand-up realm, but he can wrestle. Will he wrestle? That's a big question, but what we know for a fact is that Israel Adesanya has gotten progressively better at defending a takedown. Derek Brunson, who's also a decorated wrestler, wasn't able to take him down. Now, bear in mind, he's nowhere near decorated as Yoel Romero. He actually done pretty well competitively in the MMA grappling realm against Yoel Romero. If you've never seen Brunson versus Yoel Romero, then check it out. It's a good fight. Yoel Romero is going to be able to land shots on his feet, and actually his brother's the decorated former world champion boxer, Johan Pablo Hernandez, who I respected a hell of a lot in the boxing game. And most certainly he will have trained with him in the lead up to this fight, and that should be very, very interesting how that's going to impact his game. Whilst I see that Yoel Romero is dangerous and he's explosive at all times, I believe at 43 years old, I'm going to call him 43, it will start to eventually catch up with him. By the way, please mind the sirens. I'm in South London, stuff happens sometimes and the police is about, alright? But at 43, you got to question if Yoel Romero is going to be starting to slow down. And in my opinion, he must be at some point starting to get there. Israel Adesanya is going to have such a vast advantage on the feet that I believe he's going to be able to land early and he's going to be able to do some damage early. As the fight wears on, his technical prowess on the feet is going to start to be more and more superior. Will Yoel Romero use his wrestling? I don't know, but what I do know is that he doesn't tend to start off using his wrestling, and as the fight goes on, he's going to slow down whilst Israel Adesanya gets stronger. Now, yes, Yoel Romero has a lot of finishes in the later rounds, but actually, his cardio is most certainly questionable, and he noticeably does slow down, so it's going to be interesting to see how the fight goes. In my opinion, we're going to see Israel Adesanya utilize his distance, pick his shots well, keep a distance, defend takedowns, and we're going to see Israel Adesanya be able to cruise to a decision victory. Whilst I assume there will be some tough points in the fight, and it wouldn't surprise me at all to see Yoel Romero land a big shot, rattle Israel Adesanya, or maybe even take him down and just be able to hurt him and finish him. That wouldn't surprise me. I'm not counting Yoel Romero out at all. Actually, this is a very 60-40 fight to me, but that 60 leans towards the younger, fresher man with superior stand-up and a vast amount of length on his size. So guys, for my official prediction, I'm going with Israel Adesanya to utilize his size and length to pick apart Yoel Romero and be able to get the victory. So fight fans, for my official prediction, Israel Adesanya. Anyways, guys, why don't you guys comment below and let me know what your official predictions are for the fight. Let me know if you liked my breakdown, and I'm sorry if it was a bit noisy. There's a lot going on in the office today. Hope you enjoyed the content regardless, and thank you for watching. As always, I'm Rohan, and this is Mindful Combat.